the Biden campaign truly wants to tax as much as 80%. It would be the death of small business, frankly. If Biden were to succeed in what he wants to do, I think it would be the death of small business. You'd certainly never see a small business carry on from generation to generation.
So what's the difference between a Biden and, to be fair and balanced here? What do you think Trump would do?
I think he'd keep it the way it is. I think he likes the corporate income tax rate low. It certainly has invited investment. I happen to agree with that one. It's very much invited investment. He'll keep the bonus depreciation, which has certainly increased the price of real estate and kept real estate going up. He would keep the oil and gas tax benefits, which is basically the only thing that's kept anybody drilling has been the tax benefits for oil and gas, because nobody would drill in such a tumultuous world where who knows what the price of oil is going to be tomorrow. It could drop by 50%, or it could raise by 10%. So all of those tax incentives would certainly stay under Trump. He's been very consistent with that. And Biden actually, his stated objective is to eliminate tax incentives, which would put us into a giant roller coaster. Really, I mean, it'd have such a big impact on the economy that I think you'd see a major economic crash as a result of the tax law changes. And businesses tend to reinvest their money in their business, and so they're able to lower their net income, where an employee cannot lower their net income. So the taxes actually get raised more on employees by definition than they ever are on business owners.
Yes, and thank you. And that's really, it's political at this point. So when Biden, I mean, we're not Republican or Democrat. When we lean more towards Republican, or more actually investor. But when they say we're going to raise taxes, it's the investor and the entrepreneur goes, holy mackerel. But it's the employee and the self-employed say, oh, good, tax the bastards. And really, that's what we understand to be fair about this whole thing. And the reason Tom's on board here, again, is that we're coming into a tough environment financially, economically. Stagflation, taxation, and devaluation, because the economy is such a mess. So Tom, take it from there. We're not Republican or Democrat. We do our best possible. But when Biden says we're going to raise taxes, it upsets certain people. It gets other people excited.
Well, right? For sure. Because see, Biden is taking this bandwagon approach that anytime you have an incentive in the tax law, it's necessarily bad. Where in the reality is the incentives are there to do what the government wants done. And so, can the government really do something better than the private sector can do it? And that's really the issue. And what Biden wants is he's really trying to divide. He's trying to say, look, if you want higher taxes on the rich, you should vote for me. If you want more money allocated to the poor and the middle class, you should vote for me. And that's certainly his political ploy here. The question is whether you can actually get that done, because you would upset the economy so much by doing it. It's one thing to raise tax rates, but to eliminate incentives. And here's what happens. Now, when you raise tax rates, you actually make incentives more valuable. So you actually give people more of an encouragement to take advantage of the incentives when you raise the rates. So it's really an interesting dynamic, because you've got the economy, you've got inflation, which increases your natural tax brackets, and you've got this whole controversy between the 1% and the 99%. I think it's fascinating.
So let me add something real quickly right here. The reason is Biden versus Trump, and the reason why would Biden say I'm going to increase taxes? is because a major part of their constituency are employees, and it doesn't affect them. All they see are the entrepreneurs and the real estate investors and all this. Well, they say, well, they're getting tax breaks and we don't. And that's why we wrote in Rich Dad Poor Dad, the cash flow quadrant. You have E, S's, B's, and I's. The B's and I's get the tax break, big business and investor. Right. When the employee and the self-employed gets hammered. So it's actually, in my opinion, and Tom, would you agree with this? It's a political tactic to kind of piss off the millennials, the E's and S's, the disenfranchised, the people that they can't do anything about their taxes. I mean, there's nothing, you say it all the time, there's nothing you can do to help them, E's and S's. So by Biden saying, I'm going to tax all the B's and I's, the entrepreneurs and investors, he gets votes. Would you say it's a big part of it?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. Biden's definitely gone a lot further left than, his political career would say he would be. And there's a lot of emphasis on in the Democrat side to reallocate income, to push income from the wealthy to the poor. And it's understandable. And certain things will happen. I mean, we'll get higher, we would get higher tax rates. I don't think we'd get all of the changes that Biden would want. I mean, frankly, Obama had a lot of those same changes in his budget every single year, and they never happened. So I don't think that all of it's going to happen, but some of it will. We will get higher tax rates for sure.
As an entrepreneur and an investor, I want to be proactive, not just sit there and get screwed. So, Tom, what can an entrepreneur start doing about taxes?
Well, the first, as you always say, and I love this from you, Robert, is that business is a team sport. And so the very first thing you have to do is you have to upgrade your team. Because like Kim, you were saying, you want to know the facts. And if your tax advisor, for example, is relying on the opinion of others, they're not going to get the facts. They're going to get the opinion of somebody else. And it might be the opinion of somebody who hasn't looked at the tax law for 20 years. And so they're looking at stuff that's 20 years old. Whereas if you've got somebody on your team that's constantly looking at the tax law and what's coming up, see, here's what happens. The Congress actually keeps a list of 100 items that raise and lower taxes. So these are different tax incentives, different ways to raise and lower taxes. So that when a bill comes out like the 2017 tax law, that's not invented from scratch. I mean, that's from a list of items that they had already been looking at. Well, the same thing is true, is if, for example, were Biden to be elected, then he'd be looking at some of those same things. He's looking at what are these things on this list that I can get rid of, or what can I do? And then he's going to have other people on the other side who are going to fight him. So, it's a balancing act. And right now, you're right, Robert, it's a political act, right? It becomes a balancing act after they're elected, but right now it's just a political act.
How do you know if your CPA, your accountant, how do you know if they're up to the latest with what's happening in the tax laws?
Well, I think the first thing is, like any good entrepreneur, you've kind of got a gut feeling for that. And if you have a question in your gut, then you probably should be questioning it. But second of all is, just find out when was the last time they actually read the law. When you have a new bill comes out, for example, as we get in our next stimulus package for the coronavirus, during coronavirus, DC, right? When we get the next stimulus package, ask your accountant. So what does that stimulus package say? What did you read in the bill itself? Not what did you hear about it, or not what did you learn about it, but what did you read? I mean, you want people who actually read the law, because that's the only way to get the facts, is to read the actual law.
And let me give you a book a plug. The main reason I asked, and Kim and I asked you to write that book, it's self-defense. No, the tax code for E's, S's, B's, and I's are functionally the same throughout the world, except when Tom and I teach, because somebody else, you can't do that here. Because you got an idiot in front of you. Or a lot of times there are accountants who are idiots. But if you read Tom's book, I don't care if you live in Timbuktu, you'll be better educated, so you can ask a better educated question. And if you ask a better educated question, you know if the person in front of you knows what they're talking about. And so that's why Tom's book, Tax-Free Wealth, is self-defense. It gives you a chance, because there are how many thousands of tax pages are there?
Oh, it's over 6,000 just in the U.S. And in the UK, it's twice that. It's 12,000.
So how many pages? How many pages in your book, Tom?
My page, 280.
Good. I mean, read Tom's book, and then you can skip the rest of it. But I'm trying to say to you, there's BC, before Corona, and AC. Life is like BC, before Corona, and then AC, after Corona. But in the middle of all this, and it's going to be a battle. It's the nastiest, most crazy. I've never seen anything so hateful, spiteful, lying, and all this stuff. But it comes down to what's in it for you and me. And so my little crystal ball says going AC after Corona, and we're going to have stagflation, which means there's no growth. The magic word is always growth. And then there's going to be taxation. Yay! Higher taxes, no matter what. And then C, devaluation. In other words, your money will buy you less because they're going to print more. So the question to all of you today is, what are you going to do